Hey everyone. Well, it looks like I am not going to be into school for the remainder of this week. I unfortunately will not be cleared to be back in the building until Monday. So we are not going to be Zooming until Monday the 9th. That will be the next time I will be at Eisenhower able to Zoom with you guys. So I need to give you guys your instructions for the week. It was not my intent to be out all week, but unfortunately that's where we are. So where we left off on Friday. On Friday, you guys took your 400 acres and you counted up how many squares you had of wilderness preserve, trails, campground, hunting, fishing, and timber harvest. And you started doing your calculations for your visitors, for your wildlife. So that was where I had asked you to be on Friday. So we went through and we talked about in step one, you just simply wrote in or typed in the number of acres that you had for wilderness. For example, I had 188 acres of wilderness. I had 42 acres of trails, 96 acres of campground. And then after step one, you went on to step two, where you calculated your number of visitors. So that problem, step two, was really a multi step calculation. You started by calculating how many visitors per wilderness, right? So I had 188, and then I was to do 188 times the 5 acres to get how many visitors I had for wilderness. Then I did my 42 acres of trails times 25 to figure out how many visitors I had for my trails. I did my 96 acres of campground times 50 campers per acre. And after I calculated how many visitors I was going to have for each thing, I added those up to get my total visitors for the year. In step three, you were figuring out what it did to the wildlife. Okay. So again, this was multi-step. You started by writing in, okay, I had 188 acres of wilderness. I had for mine 34 acres of hunting, plus then how many did I have? 22 acres of timber harvest. So I added up my 188 and my 34 and my 22. And then I got that number and multiplied that by 0.02 to see how many owls I was going to have left. And then I did this for wood rats. And then again, I did it for salamanders. Okay. Now, step four and step five. Step four is not quite as tricky as step five, but you're still going to have multiple steps within your problem. So now we're figuring out, okay, because I know it was Carter who asked, do we need to plan for roadways and things like that? No, that was going to be a calculation. So part of your calculation is how many miles of trail or road you're going to need for each of the different things. So for my 42 acres of trails, I'm going to figure out how many miles I was going to have of that. So I would take my 42 acres, divide it by 6 acres per mile to get my answer for my total miles of trail. Now I would take my 96 acres of campground times 250 feet per acre, get that answer. So 96 times 250. And then I was going to divide that by 5,280 feet per mile. If you get decimals for your answer, go ahead and round it to one number after the decimal. So if, for example, you got the number 34.333, just simply round that to 34.3. Okay. For hunting, I did 96, right? I had 34 acres of hunting. So 34 times 100 first, and then divide that by 5,280. Okay. So that's step four. You're doing your math problems. Now in step five, be careful because you have 6 calculations to do in your first, second, third, and fifth are asking you for the miles. Well, you get the miles up here in step four. So for the first, second, third, and fifth calculation, you're going to use your answer that you calculated up here, right? So blank miles of trail, I'm going to take my total miles of trail. I'm going to write that number in my first blank times 0.36 first. And then I'm going to multiply that by 150 trees per acre. So I'm calculating, it says how many trees remain. Well, in order to calculate how many trees remain, I'm going to start by calculating how many trees I removed. Okay. So again, the second problem, you're going to do campground road. So you're going to take your miles of campground road. You're going to put that in the first blank times 1.45 times 150 to get your how many trees you had to cut down for your campground road. Then you're going to do it again for your hunting road. Now for your acres of fishing, you're going to scroll back up to part 1, step 1, and that's where you're going to get your acreage from fishing. Okay, so you'll type your acres of fishing in. I had 4, 8, 12, I had 18 acres of fishing. So I'm going to type in 18 times 150. Okay. For the fifth calculation, you're going to come back up here to miles of road for timber harvest. And then for the last one, you want your acres of timber harvest. So again, that's whatever number you had up at the top. Okay. So you have 6 different calculations. Once you get all 6 of those calculations, you're just going to add them together to figure out your total trees removed. And then we started with 60,000 mature trees in 400 acre woods. So you're going to take 60,000 minus however many trees you removed to get your trees remaining. Now in step 6, you're going to calculate your total revenue. Then you're going to calculate your total costs. So first, you're going to go back to your visitors, okay? Wilderness visitors, trails visitors, campground visitors, your hunters. Anglers are just fishing people. And then your timber harvest people, which I know we joked who's actually going to timber harvest. But regardless, we have them. So all you're going to do is come back up here to step 2 to get how many visitors you had in each of those areas. And you're going to multiply it by their fee, okay, to get your fees for your visitors. And then for your trees removed, that's where you're going to come to step 5. Your trees removed in step 5. And you're going to do your trees removed for trails, your trees removed for camping ground road, for hunting road, for fishing. And then here where it says trees removed for timber harvest, that's just this last one. Not the road, the actual timber harvest. So your last number here. Okay, you're going to multiply each of those by $50. So you're going to get all of your fees and all of your tree sales. You're going to add those together for your total revenue. And then we need to figure out how much your stuff costs. Okay, so there's management costs and construction costs. So again, your acreage, you're just coming up here to step 1. How many acres did you have of each thing? Okay, so I had 188 acres of wilderness times $2.50 per acre. I had 42 acres of trails times $50 per acre. I had 96 acres of campground times $200, and so on and so on. Okay. Construction costs, you're going to come back up here to steps 4 and 5 to figure out. So the first one is asking for total miles of trails. So you just put in your total miles of trails times $100. Miles of campground road, then acres of campground. So I had 96 acres, right? Miles of hunting, your acres for fishing, which I think I said I had 18. And then your miles for timber harvest road. So up here, this is your trees removed for timber harvest. This is your miles of timber harvest road. So those are 2 different things. Just pay attention to that. Okay, you'll add all of that up to figure out your total costs. And then you do your revenue from up here in the first blank, minus your costs in the second blank, and then equals your net. If you have a positive number, we say you're in the black. If you have a negative number, we say you're in the red. Okay. Take your time and rewatch this video multiple times so you know exactly how you're to do each of your calculations. Once you're completed with your what's the score page, then let's do an evaluation about it. Okay. Again, right up here at the top of the box, This was our goal, right? You and your team will make a map and develop a management plan. You may decide to do one thing, or you may want to divide the forest and do different things in different areas. Your goal is to find what you think is the best balance between visitor enjoyment, trees, wildlife, and money. So I want you to evaluate um, your 400 acres. So starting with number one, rate your visitors. How did you do? Did you bring in a lot of visitors? One being low, five being high. And then justification and explanation. Why did you give yourself a score of a 4 in terms of your visitors? Or, excuse me, a 1 in terms of your visitors? Okay. So start by evaluating your visitors. Question number 2, how did you do in terms of supporting the existing wildlife? So, looking at your owls and your rats and your salamanders, how did you do? Again, 1 being a low score, 5 being I did amazing. So, why did you give yourself the score you gave yourself? Then I want you to do, how did you maintain the tree population? Again, 1 being low, 5 being high. And then finally, okay, I need to fix my words here. Instead of visitors, I want you to evaluate your money on a scale of 1 to 5. Did you end up profitable or in the red? So if you had a positive number, you were profitable. If you had a negative number, you were in the red. So 1 being low and 5 being high. So between Tuesday through Friday, again, I will not be back on Zoom until Monday. Between Tuesday through Friday, I want your map to be completed, your what's the score page to be completed, and then your evaluation to be completed. And then on Monday, we'll kind of do a share out with how you did. We'll share our maps, we'll share our money. I have a quick check system to check our math over, so we can do that on Monday. And we'll kind of, like I said, share out, compare our answers, and see how well we did. I will be checking email throughout the day periodically. So if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, again, I'm sorry that I won't get to see you guys, but I will see you guys all on Zoom on Monday, the 9th. Have a great week, guys. And if you need anything, reach out, let me know. Have a good week.